Today we're going to be talking about mean, median, mode, and range and outlier. These are ways that we look at data and ways that we compare data sets when we're doing data analysis. So the first thing that I want to do is I just kind of want to define or explain how we get each of these things, and then talk about which one is best and when. So the first thing, the mean. Your mean is best, or you find mean by adding up all your values and divide by how many there are, how many values there are. So we'll talk about this and do some examples, but the mean, you add up all the values and divide by how many values there are. For median, you have to order numbers least to greatest. And find the middle. If there are two, find their mean. So to find the median, you order numbers least to greatest and find the middle number. If there are two middle numbers, then you're going to find their mean, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Mode is the number that occurs most often. I always remember mode because of the long O sound. Occurs most often, but mode occurs, those two O's, that's kind of how I remember that. Occurs most often. We call these top three, mean, median, and mode, the three M's, we call these three measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency, mean, median, mode, and range. Those three are all measures of the center somehow, typically. Then our range is just another way that we look at data sets and kind of compare them. Range is the biggest number minus the smallest. And the outlier is an extreme value, either high or low. So an outlier is on the outskirts. It doesn't fit in with the rest of the data. So mean, we add up all the values and divide by how many values there are. Median, we order the numbers least to greatest and find the middle. If there are two middle numbers, we find their mean. Mode is the number that occurs most often. Mean, median, and mode are all what we call measures of central tendency, the three M's. And then we have two other data analysis points. Range is the biggest number minus the smallest number, and outlier is an extreme high or low number. So which measure of central tendency is best? Remember that when we're talking about measures of central tendency, we're talking about the three M's, mean, median, mode. And here are just some kind of general rules. Mean is best, or we use mean when the data doesn't have values, or I'm sorry, when the data doesn't have numbers that are too high or too low. In other words, they don't have many outliers. That's when we use the mean, when there are no outliers or very few. We use the median when they do have outliers, or when it does have some values that are really, really different than others. So use the median when the data does have an outlier or outliers. If the numbers are too high or too low, they'll really affect our mean. They'll really drag that up or down. We're talking about median because we're finding that middle number. If there's just, a couple values that are really high or really low, the median, the middle number, still tends to stay about the same. And then we use mode when we ask for non-numerical data. So things like, what's your favorite sports team? When you are not gathering numerical data. Or if you're asking a yes or no question, you want to know who said what most. Earlier this year, we would have used mode when we asked, do you think Mr. Schaefer's baby is going to be a boy or a girl? And you guys guessed which one. Some of you said boy, some of you said girl. We would talk about the mode. We would talk about which one occurred most often, boy or girl. And so we've got our definitions up here at the top for mean, median, mode, range, and outlier. And we also have when to use each of them. When you open up your foldable on the next couple of videos, we're going to do some examples together and talk through some common mistakes.